Ahmet Nedîm Efendi was the pen name of one of the most celebrated Ottoman poets. He achieved his greatest fame during the reign of Ahmed III, the so-called Tulip Era from 1718 to 1730. Both his life and his work are often seen as being representative of the relaxed attitude and European influences of that time. He was known for his slightly decadent, even licentious poetry, often couched in the most staid of classical formats, but also for bringing the folk poetic forms of türkü and şarkı into the court. Nedîm, whose real name was Ahmed, was born in Istanbul sometime around the year 1681. His father, Mehmed Efendi, had served as a chief military judge during the reign of the Ottoman Sultan Ibrahim I. At an early age, Nedîm began his studies in a madras, where he learned both Arabic and Persian. After completing his studies, he went on to work as a scholar of Islamic law. In an attempt to gain recognition as a poet, Nedîm wrote several qasides, or panegyric poems, dedicated to Ali Pasha, the Ottoman Grand Vizier from 1713 to 1716. However, it was not until, again through qasides, he managed to impress the subsequent Grand Vizier, Ibrahim Pasha, that Nedîm managed to gain a foothold in the court of the Sultan. Thereafter, Nedîm became very close to the Grand Vizier, who effectively served as his sponsor under the Ottoman patronage system. Ibrahim Pasha's viziership coincided with the Ottoman Tulip Era, a time known both for its aesthetic achievements and its decadence. And as Nedîm fervently participated in this atmosphere, he is often called the poet of the Tulip period. Nedîm is thought to have been an alcoholic and a drug user, most likely of opium. It is known that Nedîm died in 1730 during the Janissary revolt initiated by Patrona Halil, but there are conflicting stories as to the manner of his death. The most popular account has him falling to his death from the roof of his home in the Beşiktaş district of Istanbul while attempting to escape from the insurgents. Another story, however, claims that he died as a result of excessive drinking, while a third story relates how Nedîm, terrified by the tortures enacted upon Ibrahim Pasha and his retinue, suddenly died of fright. Nedîm is buried in the Üsküdar district of Istanbul. Work. Nedîm is now generally considered, along with Fuzuli and Baki, to be one of the three greatest poets in the Ottoman divan poetry tradition. It was not, however, until relatively recently that he came to be seen as such. In his own time, for instance, the title of Reis Eren, or President of Poets, was given by Sultan Ahmed III not to Nedîm, but to the now relatively obscure poet Osman Zardtabe, and several other poets as well were considered superior to Nedîm in his own day. This relative lack of recognition may have had something to do with the sheer newness of Nedîm's work, much of which was rather radical for its time. In his qasides and occasional poems, written for the celebration of holidays, weddings, victories, circumcisions, and the like, Nedîm was, for the most part and with some exceptions, a fairly traditional poet. He used many Arabic and Persian loanwords, and employed much the same patterns of imagery and symbolism that had driven the divan tradition for centuries. It was, however, in his songs and some of his ghazals that Nedîm showed his most innovativeness, in terms of both content and language. Nedîm's major innovation in terms of content was his open celebration of the city of Istanbul. This can be seen, for example, in the opening couplet of his panegyric for Ibrahim Pasha in praise of Istanbul. Buzeri İstanbul ki bayemiyeselu behediye, bersunchind yekpere sem mulku fededir, O city of Istanbul, priceless and peerless. I would sacrifice all Persia for one of your stones. Moreover, in contrast to the high degree of abstraction used by earlier poets, Nedîm was fond of the concrete. and makes reference in much of his poetry to specific Istanbul districts and places, and even to contemporary clothing fashions, as in the following stanza from one of his songs: Semeli gözlü güzel yüzlü güzelin and Kemali belli hanserli kuvenen and bahası saradicim servi hiraman and Nisak malugonlal su gibi sada. There are coal-eyed fresh-faced gazelles, that there are gold-belted Konya-hipped young people there, and of course my love's swaying cypress body is the why shouldn't the heart flow like water towards Sad. These lines also highlight Nedim's major innovation in terms of language, namely, not only are they a song, a style of verse normally associated with Turkish folk literature and very little used by previous divan poets, but they also use a grammar and, especially, a vocabulary that is as much Turkish as it is Arabic or Persian, another aspect not much seen in divan poetry of that time or before.